Excellent. Looks like we're live. I'll just kick things off really quickly. I'm Alex Clarkson. I'm the Director of Secondary Teaching and Learning, and I'm not going to do much tonight. So just wanted to say that I'm kind of handling a lot of the technology and helping Karen, who will take over for me in just a second. And so tonight, we would like to, I'd just like you to know that we've got about a 30-second delay on everything. And we will take questions in the live chat a little bit later, but right now that's turned off. If you'd like to follow along with the presentation, if you see the description under the image in YouTube, you'll go ahead and have a link to tonight's presentation that Karen will be using. Okay, so that's pretty much it for me. So I'll turn things over to Karen.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Roby, and I am the Director of Elementary Teaching and Learning. And we wanted to take tonight as an opportunity to be proactive and talk about state tests that are required for third graders and the third grade guarantee. So if any of that is new to you, we're going to go through all of that and then answer any remaining questions that you have.
So I'm loading up the presentation now, and okay, Karen, the presentation is loaded. It's all set for you whenever you're ready.
All right. All set? Just go ahead?
Yep, you're good to go.
All righty.
So I'm on the title screen. Just tell me when you'd like me to advance.
Okay. Yeah, so tonight we're going to talk about third grade state testing as well as the third grade guarantee. Ready. All right. Are we on slide 2 now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, perfect. All right, so you may have heard these state tests called air tests, and that is simply the company that provides the tests for the state of Ohio. And these state tests are required. They are mandated, and they occur at a variety of grade levels beginning in the third grade. So starting in the third grade, students are required to take an English Language Arts test, ELA, and a math test. And when we talk about the ELA test, this is given once in the fall, typically around October. It's given again in the spring, usually during the month of April. We administer these on a computer using school devices. And the test is split into 2 parts, and each part is 90 minutes in length. One part consists of several multiple choice questions, while the other part includes quite a bit of writing and requires the students to write multiple paragraph essays. The math test is given once in the spring, also usually in April, sometimes early May. It's also administered on a school device, and it's also broken into 2 parts. Each of those are 75 minutes in length, or that's at least, those time frames are the time the students are allowed to have. It may not take them that long. The math test includes multiple choice, some fill in the blank, and there are built-in online math tools that the students are allowed to access. The next slide pretty much talks about why the ELA test is given multiple times. And honestly, when you hear this description, It might not seem fair, and I would agree with you, but I'll explain why. So when the third graders take the fall test, they are actually being tested on the knowledge that they should have gained by the end of the school year in the spring. And while that may not seem fair, it's allowing us to identify students who may need additional support throughout the year, to ensure that they're on track to be successful throughout the year and years beyond. So in summary, by taking a test in the fall, it's going to give us some data on all the students and determine who's going to need extra support. So next, we're going to talk about the third grade reading guarantee. And all of the things that I'm talking about tonight, this is what Ohio has called this process. The third grade reading guarantee, you'll often see TGRG. And what this encompasses is really it's to ensure that we're identifying students at whatever level they're at and providing the support that they need to grow beyond their level. Students will have multiple opportunities to pass this ELA air test that is required. We'll have the fall opportunity, the spring opportunity. If needed, there's a summer opportunity, and there's also alternate tests available. And I'll explain that more in detail in the slides ahead. So if your student passes the air test in the fall, he or she is considered to have met the third grade reading guarantee. But no matter what, those students still have to take the air test again in the spring. We do this to measure how much growth they have made. If your student does not pass the fall test, no worries, there'll be additional opportunities. And then the hard part to digest and accept is if a student does not pass any of the opportunities for the third grade ELA test throughout the school year, they will not be eligible to move on to fourth grade. All right. Okay, so let's talk about hypothetically, if your child does not pass in the fall. Let's talk about what that looks like and what supports will be in place. So the first thing that we wanted to give you a heads up on so that you're not, alarmed or taken back, you would receive a letter stating that your child is not on track. And if your child is identified as not being on track, they will have an individualized plan called a Reading and Improvement and Monitoring Plan. For short, we call that a RIMP. A RIMP is an individualized plan outlining skills to improve, supports that will be in place, and the staff that will be involved in delivering those supports. A staff member will reach out to you for your signature on the RIMP, and our goal is to provide instruction and intervention support during the school day at your child's current level. And obviously the ultimate goal is to just promote that continued growth from whatever level they are at. Next, you might, let's say that your child is not on track this year and they have never been on a RIMP before. One of the reasons this could occur, in third grade, we increase the on-track expectation to ensure that we're providing enough support for the students to be successful. We identify whether students are on track or not, either by those fall ELA state test results and or the STAR test that all of our elementary students take. We give it to them typically early in the school year, and it gives us a baseline of information so that we know exactly what level they're at and the supports that they need. So that's just an explanation of how we determine if they're, on track or not on track. And when it comes to third grade, knowing that retention is at stake, we do raise the bar a little bit to consider who's on track. That way we are ultimately certain that we have identified them and have supports in place for them throughout the year. Next, I'm going to revisit those multiple testing opportunities. So they're going to test in the fall. If they pass, remember they are considered to have met the third grade guarantee, but they still must take that spring test to measure growth. There's a STAR proficiency test that can be given in the spring. It's also online. I mentioned earlier an alternate test. The alternate test that we use is called the Terra Nova. This test is actually paper pencil, and again, it's an alternate opportunity for them, typically given in the spring. And if they pass that, they are also considered to have met the third grade reading guarantee. They have the opportunity for the spring air assessment, and then also there is a summer assessment that is typically provided in July, if necessary. And only one of these requirements would have to be met in order for your child to meet the third grade reading guarantee and to be promoted to the fourth grade. Next, just gives you a visual. So if they are passing that fall air test, the third grade reading guarantee is met, and they will still have to take the test in the spring. If they did not pass the fall ELA air test, again, they have that STAR proficiency option, the Terra Nova option, another spring test option of the state test, as well as a summer state test option. And you might be wondering, what are our students, expected to do on this air test? So they are definitely going to see several reading passages, and then they will have to answer multiple choice questions on those passages, as well as reflect on those passages and answer questions by writing multi-paragraph essays. Along with personalized instruction in the classroom, teachers also have the option to utilize practice resources that Ohio testing system provides. They often use those in the classroom just to expose the students to the format and just to provide a little comfortability before the actual test begins. And you also have access to some of those practice resources that I'm going to cover in a little bit. Here's just a visual of a sample ELA passage. And what the state does sometimes is releases questions that used to be on the official test, and they release those, no longer use them on the official tests, but provide them as practice options. So this is just an example where the students would read through a passage and then they would answer a variety of questions. You can see up at the top, there's a toolbar where they can use different features if they're comfortable with that. The test does save as it goes on, but the students can save if they like, and there's options to pause the test as needed. Next, you'll see a sample writing question. So here you're going to see that the students had to read multiple passages and then reflect on those. So they'll have to go back into those passages, provide evidence, and use that to construct their multi-paragraph response. The students do, obviously the test is online, so they will type all of their answers. So the more comfortable they are with that, the better off. Next, you might be wondering, what could you do to support your child at home? And when I talk to the teachers about this, honestly, we all know that reading every day is ultimately the most important. Whether you're reading to your child, reading with your child, or having your child read to you, it's just about being intentional about setting time for that. When your child's done with a story, you can certainly ask questions. And all of the links that you're seeing here on the presentation take you to different resources. So there's questions that you could ask. And then I also linked here the official practice site that the teachers will use, but you are also welcome to visit that site, and it will take you to practice questions, and the testing system is almost identical to what they will see on the actual test. And then if you ever have extra questions or are looking for additional resources, you can reach out to myself or your child's teacher. Next, the Ohio Department of Education also just released some additional resources that I thought I would provide. Again, we really feel that just, taking time to read and paying attention to what's happening in class and reviewing their papers and talk about mistakes they may have made or successes they've had, we really feel that's most important. But if you'd like to dig into these additional resources, you can. And the bottom line is that out of all that's going on in the world right now, sometimes it is tough to accept that we still have to do things like this, but we'll do it and we'll be okay and we'll get through it together. And this is when we'll go ahead and open up the live chat for questions. And if you're not comfortable asking questions now, you're certainly welcome to email me at any time.
Okay, so I've gone ahead and I have opened the live chat. So if you're looking at the YouTube stream and you don't see it on the right, just go ahead and refresh your page, and that chat should show up in the right. Of course, we're on a little bit of a delay, so we'll pause for a moment for that chat to show up and for people to type questions. As people are typing or thinking about questions, I will remind you that a copy of Karen's presentation is available in the description below the image in tonight's YouTube live stream. There's a shortened URL link that you can click, and a lot of the links that are in Karen's presentation will be helpful for you, so you can access the presentation, open those links for resources, and so on and so forth. Let's see. Still not seeing any chat. So what I'm going to do is, in the chat myself, I'm going to go ahead and type Karen's email address in case anybody should want to reach out and ask questions about third grade testing, third grade reading guarantee, and so on and so forth. Oh, excellent. We got some questions floating in now.
Okay, awesome.
So Casey asks, thank you. My first question is, do you feel this test is an accurate confirmation of the child's performance level?
Okay, great question. Honestly, I would say yes. And some data that we have to back that up is when we provide the STAR test for our students, there are reports that we can run that essentially predict how they'll do on those state tests, and they're often very aligned. And the STAR test does a really good job of telling you exactly where your child's skills are in all facets of reading development.
Okay, Then the next question is, my daughter's schedule is for 2 days. Are they only for ELA?
Yes. Since the ELA test is comprised of 2 parts, we really feel developmentally appropriate for children this age. It's best for them to just take 1 part a day. We are allowed to administer both parts in a day if necessary, but we'd prefer just to do 1 a day. Our testing will start on Monday, this coming Monday. And typically the state gives us 5 consecutive days to complete the test. But considering the pandemic and potential hybrid schedules like we're on, they've allowed us some additional days. But our goal is to finish it next week.
Okay. Don't have any more questions following those. So I think we're good enough to close it. Just to let you know, obviously you've watched. However, if anybody else talks with you and you say, oh, I watched that presentation, and they want to watch the presentation, this YouTube link will hold a recording of that presentation permanently. So they can go to this link at any time and access the recording of tonight's session, which was just a little bit over 20 minutes. Sorry, another question just came in.
Okay.
So the ELA test will be administered Monday and the math test Tuesday?
Okay, good question. Only the ELA test will be administered in the fall next week. The students will not take the math test until the spring, April or early May.
Okay. Pause for another second just in case
Sure.
anybody else has a question. But not seeing any, I
Okay.
guess we'll go ahead and close things down now. So again, thanks everybody for showing up tonight. Really appreciate it. Keep those questions coming. Thanks for supporting your children at home. As a parent of a first grader, I'm looking at this for a couple of years from now. I know how important it is and how enjoyable it is to read with your kids, develop those English language arts skills. Also, former English teacher. So thank you very much for providing that support. Looks like we got one more question snuck in there,
Sure.
Karen.
Yeah.
So when do students usually take the STAR test?
Typically, we do that very early on in the school year. This year, most of that testing occurred mid to late September. And that's something we give multiple times a year to assess their progress. So yeah, that's when that typically occurs. And one other thing I wanted to say, just as a mom, my youngest is a 4th grader, and I will honestly tell you the best advice that I could give about this is to remain calm and just to support your kiddos by saying just simply do your best. We definitely don't want this to be stressful or have the kids feel like they're under too much pressure. There is plenty of opportunities for them to show what they know. So that's the best advice that you could give them, next week is just show them what you know and do your best. And if you don't know the answers, that's okay. Then the teachers will know how to help you then.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. I want to echo that. My experience as an educator is 6-12 education, but I've been through OGTs and this next generation of AIR tests, and I tell you, there's a lot of anxiety from a lot of folks up front, and then once they're in it and just after they're done, they're like, oh, that wasn't really a big deal, and then we recycle, and there's a lot of anxiety and all of that happens. But once the tests are being taken and once they're done, people see that it wasn't really a big deal. And our passage of students for the 3rd grade reading guarantee is nearly perfect. And the only case, I think one case that we have of retention was actually a parent request and an agreement with the parent. that they thought it was best for their child. So this is fine. Karen's right. The biggest problem that we have with state testing is when folks reinforce anxiety. And if you take this in stride and relax with it and support your children and say it's just something you do your best, always proud of you, then they'll do just fine. And that's what we see when we see the kids taking these tests. I've watched third graders take the fall ELA test, and under the guidance of an excellent teacher, which we have many excellent teachers, they know how to calm them and they know how to make sure they get through it without any problem. So it's really nothing to get all that anxious about. We appreciate you supporting.
Yeah, you make a really good point. The passage rate is pretty terrific. So considering all the options they have throughout the year, we've been very successful.
Yep. Okay, we haven't had a question in a while. We've been rambling with our closing, so I think it's a good time to close everything down. So again, thanks everybody, and good luck out there.
Thank you. Have a great night.